Barry, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. How are you this fine afternoon?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yes, sir. We always appreciate it. And I wanted to get your memories of that 1978 football team. We've been talking about it throughout the show, and Rodney Orr was just on with us from TiderInsider.com, and I was taking a look back as well. You guys arguably may have played the toughest schedule ever for any Alabama football team during that 1978 journey to number one.
Well, I know it was pretty tough. I mean, we went out to USC and USC in 1977 and beat USC when they were number one in the country, and then we ended up playing them again, and this time in Birmingham, and they beat us earlier in the season. But teams either get stronger or weaker throughout the year, and I felt like after that loss, we basically got stronger. And I don't, we ended up splitting the national championship with USC, and I think USC was going the opposite way. They ended up losing to an unranked team later, and golly, and so. But we just felt like we were getting stronger. We played so much better, and then we had the opportunity to play the number one team in the country when we were number two. So it was the opportunity that we were looking for.
Yeah, it really was. With Missouri knocking off Nebraska, you got a chance to play against top-ranked Penn State in the Sugar Bowl, and then, as Coach Jack Rowland used to always say, a gut check moment, and one that you've immortalized yourself, painting the goal line stand. But you were part of one of the most iconic plays in the history of Alabama football.
Yeah, it just worked out that way. When you're a kid, when I was a kid growing up in Pompano Beach, Florida, you dream about catching the touchdown pass or shooting that free throw or whatever, that three-pointer that wins the game for you. You just think about that. And it's kind of ironic how it all turned out for me, being able to make the play on the goal line and to be remembered the way I am. It's really, really an honor because, it was just about Coach Bryant's vision. He talked about winning national champions. He talked about us being different, that you walk and the way you hold yourself as far as a winner and believe in yourself and believe in your team, and that's what we had. We had a great football team, and when it got down to that goal line, when the odds were against us, and the momentum had changed dramatically. With the fumble, Penn State got it and then drove it down. So the whole game was really just totally changed. And so it was up to us. That's our responsibility as a defense to step up. And after we came off the field after stopping them on the goal line, a lot of people were like, well, what was your motivation? And the motivation was that we didn't want to walk over to Coach Bryant after that and say that we didn't get the job done. So we ended up doing it, and we did it as a team. Defensive line did a great job. It was a great call by Ken Donahue, defensive coordinator. We came with an all-out blitz on them, and when they ran it up the middle, Rich Wingo took out the lead blocker, and I took the jumper, and it was just a great experience. And obviously the picture, the play is played over and over and over, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of the history of Alabama football. It's such a great program.
Yeah, and Barry, I know Rodney Orr wanted me to ask you this, but you were on the kind of the bottom of the pile after that play, taking on the jumper. How banged up were you after that play?
Really got, pretty well stunned myself pretty good. I don't, I was doing an interview earlier, and they said, well, what do you remember about that play? And I said, nothing. Like, yeah, I got stunned, but actually, just remember just making the hit. And, not only did I get, really dinged because, most of my career I played with, what they call a slight concussion, which is called a ding. You just got a little ringer going on. It's not a massive concussion, but when you make a hit like that, just helmet to helmet, it just kind of rang my bell. And then, on top of that, I pinched a nerve in my neck, which paralyzed me, which I had to deal with that for 13 years in the NFL, being paralyzed, every game or every other game after I made a hit. And so that was it. I mean, when I made the hit, basically went down. I had no idea whether we stopped him or not. I just felt like I faced him up as well as I could, and delivered a blow, but I had no idea if he made it because it was only an inch. I mean, it really was. And just when, Rich Wingo and Marty picked me up, basically they said, hey, guess what? We did it. We stopped him. So then that's when I first knew that we had stopped him for sure.
Yeah, and I know it had to mean even more to you group of seniors because you guys really felt that you should have won the national championship in 1977, but then to come back in '78, and as you said, you didn't want to let Coach Bryant down, and to get the job done, that had to mean even more.
Yeah, really. And there are some people that say, well, there was still like 3.5 minutes left in the game. But I truly believe the game was over then. I think, the momentum had changed in the game, and the number one team in the country gets the fumble, the big turnover, and momentum always shifts them. They drive down to the goal line. But then when we stopped them, I think it just shocked them. And all of a sudden you felt in the whole building that Alabama was back. I mean, we came back strong and made the stand, and I think the momentum shifted, and they really just seemed to kind of have the wind out of their sails coming out the last 3 minutes of the game. We ended up, I think, getting an interception, but it was one of those things. But yeah, it was an opportunity we had in '77. We felt like we were third in the country, and the fifth-ranked team, Notre Dame, leapfrogs us by beating the number one team, which we felt like we should have had the opportunity to play Texas and Earl Campbell. So we missed out on that national championship. Notre Dame leapfrogged us and won a national championship. So we had something to prove. We felt like we had a great football team, but we had to prove it. And I thought that we did a great job of coming together and proving it that afternoon, that evening, against the number one team in the country.
Without question. And then you've been a blessed guy because you were all, besides having talent to play football and doing it for 11 years in the NFL after being a first round draft choice in 1979 and playing your most of your career, the majority of it with the Baltimore/Indianapolis Colts, and then finishing with the Miami Dolphins. You also are a gifted artist, and I'm very fortunate and blessed to have your work of the goal line stand autographed by you, and it's one of my prized possessions. But you've also, to be able to kind of immortalize the kind of talent, to immortalize the play you were a big part of, that's a great thing. You've done a great job also as an artist.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've always, loved to draw and loved to paint. I'm a watercolor guy, maybe into, acrylics, but it's just something that I enjoy doing, and I decided to do that because Daniel Moore had his rendition, and I said, well, it would be kind of cool if I had mine. So I decided to draw. So I drew like about 4 or 5 different renditions of it. I took pictures from different angles and things, and created my own, and got a limited edition. And it's done very well. I can't believe it. I mean, as many people have bought the limited edition. It's really pretty cool. The Bryant Museum sells it, and it's just it's been a lot of fun to do. People just get a big kick out of history and mostly Alabama history, and when they get that from me, they're like, wow, this is just really cool. The guy who did it painted his own picture, which is kind of neat. So I've enjoyed that.
Absolutely. And what are your thoughts on reuniting with a lot of your former teammates inside Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday?
It is going to be a blast. It really is. There's a lot of guys that didn't see last year. We had the 40th reunion of the SEC championship last year, but this year, there's a lot of guys that did not make it last year that I'm looking forward to seeing. I know that I'm in touch with Marty Lyons, Rich Wingo, Murray Legg, those kind of guys, but there's a lot of guys that I have not seen in years, so it's going to be a lot of fun to get out there, and I'm proud to be a part of that. I mean, when people ask me all the time and say, "Well, you played 13 years in the NFL, played at Division I at Alabama. What do you miss most?" And I said, "I miss my teammates. I miss those relationships that we had. That we went through a lot. I mean, back then, we had the 3-hour practices, full pads, hitting, no water breaks. That was just the way it was, and it was pretty brutal. And we survived it. We really did. And when we walked away, we were all different. Um, um, Basically, because Coach Bryant made such an impact on our lives, and how it's really great to talk to a lot of them to say, what about Coach Bryant? What do you think of him? Do you think of him, a lot or less or what? And they think, every one of them, I think we all talk about the fact that we think of Coach Bryant almost every day. We're put in a tough situation. Coach Bryant talked about it all the time. Don't expect everything to work perfectly. It's all how you handle it, the will to win. And so all those lessons have really come around. And so I'm looking forward to seeing these guys and sharing experiences and sharing times, because I don't remember all of them, but there's some guys that remembered all these little details. I'm like, I remember. Oh, okay. I forgot about that one. So it's a lot of fun to kind of fill in the blanks, if you could say that. So it'll be a lot of fun to see these guys.
Yeah, it really will, and looking forward to that. And I know we've been reminiscing and hearing a lot of the famous quotes from Coach Bryant on this Throwback Thursday presented by Spiller Furniture and Mattress throughout the show. Whenever I hear Coach Bryant, it always kind of gives me the chills. What do you think about when you hear his voice? And I'm sure as you said, you think about him every day, but when you actually hear him speak via the audio we've been playing today, what goes through your mind?
Oh my gosh, it brings back a lot of memories. I mean, he was one of the greatest public speakers. I mean, he's a guy that learned how to speak and learn how to command a presence, and he had that by the way he walked and talked. When he used to walk into a room, true story. I mean, he would quiet the room. Everybody'd stop and they go, "My gosh, that's him. That's Coach Bryant." And then he didn't really say too much. He just said a couple things, and most of the time he kind of mumbled, and he used to joke. He'd go, I mumble a lot, and a lot of people ask me why I don't articulate stuff, and I mumble. And he goes, you know why? Because you guys don't give me anything to talk about. So he was always busting our chops. He always told us, we had offensive linemen that were big, fat, and too slow, and we'll never win a game. That was the motivation back then. It wasn't there's so much the positive. Let me pat you on the butt. It was like, I'm going to kick you in the butt. And so that's how we got motivated. But boy, when he spoke, you listened. I mean, he was so intimidating, and you'll hear this from every player that ever played for him. Joe Namath, to Kenny Stabler, all these guys would always talk. When Coach Bryant talked to you. In fact, Ray Perkins talked about getting a phone call about becoming the head coach at Alabama. And I asked Ray, I said, Ray, you're the head coach of the Giants at the time, and Coach Bryant calls you, and next thing you know, you become coach at Alabama. You just gave up that. And he said, you know what it's about. And I go, what do you mean? He said, when Coach Bryant asks you to do something, you did it. And that's the power that he had, and it was the command. It was the way he spoke. When I hear him speaking, it's like, oh my God, you had to listen. You really had to listen. And that's what a great professional, a speaker is all about, and a great leader, was the ability to have people actually understand and comprehend and listen intently about what he's saying. And we heard it loud and clear, and the result was some great experiences and a national championship.
Really was. In the last few minutes with Barry Krauss, the All-American linebacker for the University of Alabama, 1978 national champion. I'd be amiss if I didn't ask you about this team so far this season and what they've accomplished. They're the defending national champions. Tua Tagovailoa just being prolific so far as the quarterback. You spent over 20 years with the Indianapolis Colts as a broadcaster, and you saw Peyton Manning up close. I always thought Peyton Manning had the ability to raise the level of all those around him offensively, and I see some of the same traits in Tua Tagovailoa. I wanted to get your thoughts on what you've seen thus far, Barry.
I totally agree. I mean, I was around Peyton when was with the Colts, and he did. I mean, that one guy just brought everybody up to another level to compete at a higher level, and accountability and responsibility, and that's exactly what's happening out there. Just the presence of Tua. He's a great leader, and basically he's out there making plays. And what's exciting about football is it becomes contagious. You know, when you see guys out there really going after it, you want to be a part of that, and you want to compete. It's your nature to get out there and to do that. And so, you know, what he did last year, coming in the national championship game in the second half, all my Georgia boys go, you know, it just wasn't fair. You know, Nick Saban had that secret weapon, and he pulled it out on the second half. And I'm not quite sure how. I think it was very secret. In fact, I don't know how much, you know, Saban, you know, Nick really even knew what this kid could do under, you know, basically, you know, game conditions, because he had never played in a college game, never played at that level, and he just responded, and it was just incredible to see. But I'm so proud of this football team. I have heard, and you know, I've been just watching these kids, and they're saying that this is probably the best Alabama football team that they've ever seen. And I concur. I think it's one of the greatest. We have never had a throwing quarterback like this. I mean, we've had running quarterbacks and quarterbacks that manage games, but a gunslinger, I'm telling you, we haven't seen that since like Stabler and Namath. You know what I'm saying? He's throwing the rock down the field vertical, and you know, that's exciting to see that complement to a great football team that can obviously run the ball, but and with a great defense. You know, we've always been known to win championships with great defenses, but now we got a quarterback, and what a leader! But he has taken it to the next level. And you know, Jalen Hurts is still in the book too. I mean, he's a good player, a great competitor. And it'll be interesting to see how both of those quarterbacks pan out. But Tua has really made an incredible he's made his presence known on that football field at Alabama.
He really has. And then finally, Barry, I'd want to let the listeners know we have so many avid fans, and this is the greatest fan base in college football. For those that may not have your work, the limited edition goal line stand, how can they get one of that great piece of artwork that you've authored and that's been selling so well?
Well, they could just email me. It's pretty simple. It's just KraussBarry@yahoo.com, KraussBarry@yahoo.com, and I'll be glad to handle it and get it autographed, personalized, and sent off immediately. So thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm just really pleased to be on your show, and I'm excited about coming down to T-Town tomorrow. I'm excited. I'm going to come in a little bit earlier. And it's going to be exciting again to watch Alabama football get another win against Texas A&M.
Certainly will. Well, Barry, it's been an honor to interview you yet again and talk with you. You're one of the greatest legends of Crimson Tide football. Safe travels to Tuscaloosa. It's going to be great to see you back inside Bryant Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Thank you, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you on the game this afternoon.
Hey, thank you, and roll tide. Talk to you later.